Hello, listener. The fact you hear this means you're alive. If you're new here, consider subscribing and comment below. Where you're listening from, you must subscribe because every single subscribe helps me donate $1 to those who sacrifice for our country. Let's begin the story. The doors won't close. I slam the button again, knuckles white against red plastic. Through the windshield, the platform shouldn't exist. We don't stop at Millbrook Station anymore. Haven't for 30 years. But the fluorescent lights flicker over cracked tiles, and something stands at the platform's edge, swaying like kelp in deep water. My hand fumbles for the laminated card zip-tied to the control panel. 8 rules in faded typewriter font, the third one smudged into illegibility by what looks like dried blood. Rule 1. If the train stops at an unscheduled station, do not open the doors. The figure moves closer. Its joints bend wrong. Too many elbows. Rule 2. If passengers board between midnight and 4 a.m., verify they cast shadows. I didn't open the doors. The doors open themselves. The thing tilts its head, keeps tilting past where next should stop. Driver, it says, voice like grinding metal. This is my stop. My finger hovers over the emergency override. Rule 4 says never use it between midnight and 4 a.m. It's 3:33 a.m. But Rule 1 says don't open the doors, and they're already open, and my training never covered platforms that don't exist. The fluorescent lights surge bright, then die. In the darkness, I hear it stepping aboard. I punch the override. The doors scream shut, catching fabric or skin. Something tears. The train lurches forward, and I don't look at the rearview monitor. I can't, because in that half-second of darkness, I saw its reflection in the windshield, standing directly behind my seat. But when the lights flickered back, nothing was there. My radio crackles. Unit 7, this is Control. You're showing a phantom stop. Did you? Static drowns the voice. I check the rules again. My hand shakes so badly the card rattles against the console. Rule 8. If you reach the end of the line before 5 a.m., do not turn around. Abandon the train. The end of the line is 6 stops away. It's 3:34 a.m. I have exactly 91 minutes to survive whatever I just let onto my train. 2 weeks ago, I was desperate enough to take a job nobody else wanted. The posting was explicit. Night driver, Riverside Line, midnight to 6 a.m. shift. Triple hazard pay. No questions about the turnover rate. My mom's medical bills made sure I didn't ask questions. Now the train hums through tunnels that smell like copper and old earth. The passenger car behind me is dark. I force myself to check the monitor. Empty seats. Flickering lights. Nothing moving. I exhale. The radio sputters. Even listening. Unit 7, acknowledge. This is Unit 7, I say. I'm here. Silence. Then a different voice, older. You saw it, didn't you? The station. Not Control's voice. Too raspy. Who is this? Driver who ran this route before you. Listen carefully, the rules lie. Not all of them, but enough. The third one, the smudged one, that's the only one that matters. My stomach drops. What does it say? Can't tell you. You have to read it yourself when the time comes. But listen, when passengers board, don't count them. Whatever you do, don't. Static. Dead air. The next station approaches. Riverside North. My headlights catch the platform. Normal. Well-lit. The dozen usual night shifters waiting. The train slows. I check my watch, 3:42 a.m. Still in the danger window. The doors open. People board. I count them automatically. 1, 2, 3. I remember the warning too late. At 7, I stop. But I've already seen him. The man in the back row who wasn't at the platform. Who doesn't sway with the train's movement. Whose shadow stretches the wrong direction from the overhead lights. He smiles at the camera. I've broken Rule 2 without meaning to. I verified he has no shadow. The lights in the passenger car cut out completely. The passenger car stays dark for exactly 16 seconds. When the lights stutter back, all 7 passengers sit perfectly still, facing forward. Too still. Nobody checks phones. Nobody shifts weight. And there are 8 people now. My mouth goes dry. I didn't see anyone else board. The 8th figure sits in the rear corner, obscured by shadow that doesn't match the lighting. Even on the monitor, it's wrong, like a thumbnail smudge on a photograph. The radio hisses. Stop counting. The raspy voice again. Not coming through the radio speakers, coming from the passenger car's intercom. Who are you? A whisper. Check the maintenance logs. Driver number 4. Lasted 3 months. Then I missed the deadline. A sound like wet breathing. I'm still here. You saw me board at Millbrook, didn't you? The thing that tilted its head wrong. The doors catching its skin. What happens when you break the rules? Now listen, the entity that runs this line, it feeds on violations. Each rule you break, it gets stronger. Stronger means it can bend more of reality. Right now it's just shadows and impossible stations. Keep going in. A screech of metal. The intercom goes dead. I check my mirrors. The 8 passengers haven't moved, but the shadow in the corner has grown, spreading across the ceiling like spilled ink. The train enters a tunnel. The tunnel should last 45 seconds. I've run this route 6 nights now. In 90 seconds, we're still underground. The darkness outside presses against the windows. At 2 minutes, I see the lights. Not station lights. Symbols carved into the tunnel walls, glowing phosphorescent green. They scroll past too fast to read, but I feel them like ice water in my veins. They're instructions. Coordinates. A summoning. The train shudders. My speedometer reads 40 miles per hour, but the tunnel lights suggest we're barely moving. Time doesn't work right here. I check the rules again. Rule 5. If the train runs longer than scheduled between stations, do not reduce speed. Maintain exactly 40 miles per hour. We emerge at Westfield Station. The clock reads 3:59 a.m. 17 minutes have passed. It should have been 3. For people wait on the platform. Behind them, someone has written in what looks like rust. Count them all. I close my eyes. The doors open. I don't count, but I hear them board. For sets of footsteps. Then a 5th. No, I'm not counting. I'm just noticing. Through the mirror, I watch them sit. 3 men, 2 women. They look normal. One man scrolls his phone. A woman adjusts her headphones. The 5th passenger stands in the aisle, facing my cabin door. It's a child, maybe 7 years old, wearing a school uniform 40 years out of date. Her hair hangs wet across her face, dripping onto the floor. The droplets don't reflect the overhead lights. They absorb them, tiny pools of darkness. She knocks on my cabin door. 3 slow taps. Rule 6. If a passenger knocks, respond through the intercom. Never open the cabin door. I press the intercom button. Please return to your seat. I can't. Her voice is small, distant. My stop already passed. It passed a long time ago. What stop? Millbrook. I've been waiting for someone to let me off. My blood freezes. Millbrook Station, demolished in 1993. The newspaper article I'd found during training, 12 die in station collapse. A school group trapped when the ceiling gave way. I need to see my mom, the girl says. She's still waiting. Can you take me back? Rule 7. Never reverse the train. Forward motion only. But Millbrook appeared anyway. The train stopped there on its own. The girl knocks again, harder. Please. I've been so cold. The other passengers haven't reacted. They sit frozen, the man's thumb motionless on his phone screen. They're not real. Or they stop being real. Only the girl moves. I can't take you back, I say. My voice cracks. Her head tilts. Then I'll wait with you. Until shift ends. She walks to the back of the car and sits in the shadow that's been growing. It wraps around her like welcoming arms. The train moves on. Next stop, Parkview. Then downtown. Then Riverside Central. Then the end of the line. I check my watch, 4:17 a.m. I need to reach the end before 5 a.m., but not too early. The rules don't say what happens if I arrive before the deadline, and now I understand the rules are full of gaps. Traps built from omissions. My headlights catch something on the tracks ahead. A figure walking along the rails toward me, not moving aside. I slam the horn. It doesn't react. I can't slow down, Rule 5. Can't stop, no scheduled station. The figure raises its head. Even from here, I see its joints bending wrong. Driver number 4. What he became. He's not trying to escape the train. He's trying to get back on. I close my eyes before impact. The train passes through him like smoke. When I open them, he's standing in a passenger car, dripping tunnel water onto the floor. The seated passengers still don't react. Their eyes are open but vacant, dolls waiting for strings to pull. Only the girl moves, tilting her head at the newcomer. You broke another rule. Driver number 4's voice rattles through the intercom. His body stands in the passenger car, but somehow he's speaking from everywhere at once. Hit a pedestrian. Even a dead one. Rule 3. I can't read Rule 3. It's smudged. Convenient. His laugh is broken glass. Want to know what it says? I grip the controls. Parkview Station approaches. I should stop, let the normal passengers off, if any of them are still normal. But the rules say nothing about passenger safety. They only tell me what not to do. Rule 1. Don't open doors at unscheduled stops. Rule 2. Verify shadows. Rule 3. Smudged. Rule 4. Don't use emergency override between midnight and 4 a.m. Rule 5. Maintain speed during delays. Rule 6. Never open cabin door. Rule 7. Never reverse. Rule 8. Abandon train if you reach in before 5 a.m. The train slows for Parkview. 4:31 a.m. 2 people wait on the platform. As the doors open, I finally see their faces clearly. They're me. Both of them. Same uniform, same face, same frightened eyes. One mouths words, "Don't stop. Keep going." The other shakes its head frantically, pointing at the growing shadow in the passenger car. The doors stay open. Neither version of me boards. Choose, the girl says. One's telling the truth. One's feeding you to it. I check the rules again. Nothing about duplicates. Nothing about which voice to trust. But I notice something. The me on the left casts 2 shadows. I punch the door close. The left duplicate screams, its form rippling like heat distortion, before disappearing. The right one just nods sadly as we pull away. Driver number 4 laughs. Smart. But you still broke a rule. Parkview is scheduled. You're supposed to stop long enough for boarding. You left early. The shadow spreads across the ceiling, reaching toward my cabin. How many rules do I have to break? I whisper. All of them, he says. That's the point. The rules guarantee failure. The only way to survive is... His voice cuts off. The shadow recoils suddenly, violently. Because I'm pulling the laminated card off the console, holding it close to the windshield lights, examining Rule 3 smudges. They're not blood. They're deliberate scratches. Someone tried to destroy this rule. I angle the card, catching light from different directions. Faint impressions remain in the plastic. Ghost letters. Rule 3. The entity cannot touch you if you... The rest is gone. But I read the missing word in the pattern of scratches. Rule 3. The entity cannot touch you if you acknowledge it. The shadow stops spreading. I turn in my seat, looking directly at the passenger car through the connecting window. At the darkness that's been pretending to be a shadow, that's been growing with each broken rule. I see you, I say. The lights surge. Every passenger, the frozen commuters, driver number 4, the girl, they all turn to face me at once. Their mouths open in unison. No. The voice comes from the darkness itself, a sound like tearing metal and dying stars. The shadow condenses, pulling away from the walls and ceiling, compressing into a shape. Almost human. Too tall, joints reversed, skin like oil over water. It's been here the whole time. In every reflection, every dark corner, every impossible moment. You weren't supposed to read it, the entity says. Its voice bypasses my ears, speaking directly into my skull. They scratched it out. Every driver before you scratched it out. Why? Because acknowledging me means you have to face me. Most prefer the slow death. Breaking rules, becoming like them. It gestures at driver number 4, existing in the between spaces. Forever riding the line. The train enters another tunnel. Downtown Station should be next. Then Riverside Central. Then the end. I check my watch, but the numbers blur. 4:44 a.m. or 4:14. The digits shift. Time's different for me. The entity says, I'm from when the tunnel collapsed. 1993, when 12 children died and their fear soaked into these walls. I'm what grew from that. An echo that became real. The girl with wet hair steps forward. She's more solid now, features clearer. It keeps us here, feeding on new drivers. Each one who breaks the rules adds to its power. But if I acknowledge it, then you fight it directly, driver number 4 says. His form flickers between human and other. No more rules. No more slow corruption. Just you in it. Nobody's ever won. Downtown station approaches. The platform is empty except for one figure. My mother. She waves, smiling, wearing the hospital gown from her last day. The one she died in 3 days ago, the funeral I missed for this shift. No, she's not dead. That's not true. I spoke to her yesterday, didn't I? The entity laughs. You took this job because you were desperate. But you're remembering wrong. Your mother died. You needed money for funeral costs. The posting appeared the same day. You're lying. Am I? The train stops. The doors open. My mother boards. She sits in the front row, looking at me through the cabin window. Sweetheart, you look tired. Almost done with your shift. I check my watch. The numbers settle, 4:56 a.m. 4 minutes until deadline. But which deadline? Reach the end before 5 or abandon before 5? The rule is unclear. That's the trap, the entity whispers. Ambiguity. Every rule has loopholes, contradictions. You break them without meaning to, or you break them trying to follow others. Either way, I win. The girl touches my cabin door. Unless you break the biggest rule of all. What rule? The one they told you in training. The one that's not on the card. I remember. The supervisor's final words. Whatever happens, finish your route. Never abandon the train before completing the line. That's the real Rule 8, driver number 4 says. The entity wrote the card. The scratched out rule was the only truth. Everything else is designed to trap you. The train begins moving. Riverside Central ahead. Then the end of the line. My watch shows 4:58 a.m. The entity expands, filling the passenger car. Choose. Abandon the train and break your contract, lose everything, including the memory of why you started. Or finish the route and join us. Forever. I look at my mother. At the girl. At driver number 4's twisted form. At the control panel. And I remember the laminated card his writing on the back. I flip it over. The back of the card is a journal, written in cramped handwriting. Driver number 4, day 87. I figure it out. The entity isn't from the collapse. It's older. The collapse was food, not birth. It's been here since the tunnels were dug, since something was disturbed. The 12 children were just the first meal in decades. Day 89, the rules are backwards. Follow them equals slow death. Break them equals quick death. But there's a third option. Day 90, I'm going to try something. If you're reading this, I failed. But maybe you'll succeed. The entity feeds on fear and rules. It's a parasite of order. So, the writing ends in a streak, like someone grabbed the card mid-sentence. I look up. Driver number 4 stands in the passenger car, watching me. You wrote this, I say. His form stabilizes slightly, becoming more human. Before I understood the cost, I tried to starve it, break all the rules at once, create chaos it couldn't feed on. What happened? It adapted. Chaos is just another pattern. I became part of it instead, a warning for the next driver. You. The train slows. Riverside Central. 4:59 a.m. Empty platform. But written on the station sign in that rust-like substance. Last chance. The doors open. Nothing boards. Get off, the girl says. While you still can. The end of the line is one more stop, I say. 3 minutes away. You won't make it, driver number 4 says. The entity bends time. You'll ride that final stretch forever, never arriving. Always almost there. My mother speaks for the first time. Come sit with me, honey. You've been driving so long. Rest. Her voice is perfect. The exact cadence, the warmth I remember. But her shadow has teeth. The entity behind them all smiles with a mouth too wide. The previous drivers are still here because they chose wrong. Follow the rules, break the rules. Both paths lead to me. The only escape is to stay on the train forever, caught between stations. Existing, but not living. There's a third option, I say. Is there? I grab the emergency override. The one rule 4 says never use between midnight and 4 a.m. It's 5 a.m. now. I pull it. The train's emergency systems scream. Lights flash red. The brakes engage with a sound like tearing metal. Everything not bolted down flies forward, including the entity. It slams against the cabin door, and for the first time, I see surprise in its oil-slick eyes. You're right, I say. Follow the rules or break them, both feed you. But you wrote the rules to create that dilemma. You forgot to account for what happens when the rules become obsolete. The clock strikes 5 a.m. The danger window closes. The entity shrieks, its form destabilizing. The shadows peel away like burning paper. The passenger car floods with early morning light from the tunnel entrance ahead. But I'm not done. I throw the train into reverse. Rule 7. Never reverse the train. The entity's scream shakes the tunnel walls. The train shudders backward, fighting me, but I keep the throttle down. We're going back. Past Riverside Central. Past downtown. Toward Millbrook. And oh, the entity roars. You'll tear the membrane. You'll let through what's beneath. The tunnel walls crack. Not physical cracks, reality cracks. Through them, I see layers. The tunnel as it is, as it was, as it should never have been. And below all of it, something vast and patient waiting. The entity wasn't the original threat. It was a seal. A predator keeping a bigger predator contained. Driver number 4 appears in my cabin, passing through the locked door. Stop. You don't understand. The collapse in 93, it was an accident. They were sealing something that woke during excavation. Something old. The 12 children were sacrifices, and their fear formed a barrier. The entity, I say, is the barrier. Cruel, yes. Feeding on drivers, yes. But better than the alternative. Through the cracks in reality, I see it. The thing beneath. Not a creature, hunger. An absence in the shape of existence. The entity is a parasite. This thing is cancer. The girl appears next to driver number 4. It's why we're trapped. Our fear maintains the seal. If the entity dies, if the barrier breaks, everyone dies, my mother finishes. She's in the cabin too now, translucent. Not just on the train. The whole city. Maybe further. I ease off the throttle. The train slows its reverse course. The entity reforms, smaller, weaker, but alive. You understand now. I'm necessary. The rules are cruel because the alternative is extinction. You're lying, I say. You've lied about everything else. This time I'm not. The cracks in reality seal. The vast hunger recedes. The entity's form solidifies into something almost human. It sits in a passenger seat, looking exhausted. The tunnel system was built over a thin place, it says, where reality wears through. Something noticed the construction. Started pushing through. The collapse was its first attempt. The 12 children's deaths, their concentrated terror, created me. An immune response. I check my watch. 5:17 a.m. I've been off shift for 17 minutes, but I'm still here. The rules keep drivers in a state of controlled fear. The entity continues. Just enough to maintain me. Too much fear, and I become stronger than necessary. Start feeding beyond my purpose. That's what happened with previous drivers. They broke too many rules, gave me too much power. And Rule 3, the acknowledgement rule, was supposed to help you fight back if I overstepped. Balance. But I scratched it out because I was hungry. It almost sounds ashamed. I became what I was fighting. The train stops. We've reversed to Millbrook Station. The platform is whole. New. The way it was before the collapse. 12 children wait, wearing school uniforms, faces bright with life. They're still here, the girl says. Holding the line. Keeping it sealed. She walks to the door. Transparent now, barely visible. We can rest if someone else takes the watch. The entity feeds on fear, yes. But that fear is voluntary. A choice to stand guard. Driver number 4 nods. I couldn't accept it. Fought it. Became twisted by resistance. And I can leave? I ask. The entity meets my eyes. If you abandon the train, someone else will be called. The posting will appear. Another desperate person will take the job. The cycle continues. Or you finish the route. Accept the truth. Drive the last train knowing what you're protecting. The fear becomes purpose instead of torture. Through the windshield, I see the children board. They fill the passenger car with light and laughter. Real passengers, finally. But they cast no shadows. The entity sits among them, no longer monstrous. Just tired. The route is simple, it says. Midnight to 6 a.m. The hours when the seal weakens. Someone has to patrol. Has to feed the barrier just enough fear to keep it strong. My mother, the real memory of her, not the twisted version, appears one last time. You wanted to help people, sweetheart. You wanted your work to matter. I think of the city above. Millions sleeping, unaware of what lurks beneath. I think of the rules now understood. And I think of the choice every driver faces. Resist and become twisted, abandon and doom another, or accept and stand guard. I put the train in forward. What happens to Rule 3? I ask. The entity hands me a marker. You decide. Leave it scratched for the next driver to find, or rewrite it clearly. I take the marker. The train moves forward, carrying its cargo of ghosts and purpose. I have a choice to make about truth. I rewrite Rule 3 in clear, bold letters. Rule 3, the entity is the seal. Acknowledge it to understand. Fear it to maintain the barrier. The entity watches. You've made it easier for the next driver. Or harder, I say. Understanding doesn't make it easier to accept. The train emerges from the tunnel into pre-dawn darkness. We pass Riverside Central, empty at this hour. The route continues to the end of the line, a terminus called Deepwatch Station. I've never seen it. Previous shifts ended at Riverside Central. The passengers dispersed. But now I understand the last stop is where drivers choose. 5:42 a.m. 18 minutes until shift's official end. The entity stands. We are approaching the decision point. I should explain what happens if you accept. I drive the midnight to 6 a.m. shift. Forever. Not forever. Until you break. Every driver breaks eventually. Some last weeks. Driver number 4 lasted 3 months. The longest made it 2 years before the fear consumed him. What happens when you break? You become like me. Part of the seal, but twisted. Your humanity erodes. You join the patrol in a different way. The children in the passenger car play games, laugh, whisper secrets. They died 32 years ago, but they're more alive than anything else in this darkness. Why children? I ask. Children's fear is pure, unmixed with cynicism or disbelief. When they died, terrified but together, their fear crystallized, became structure instead of chaos. The entity touches one child's shoulder gently. She doesn't react. They're not suffering. This is the echo of their last happy moment, the field trip before the collapse. They exist in that memory eternally. That's almost kind. I tried. At first. Before hunger made me cruel. Deepwatch Station appears. It's not on any map. The platform extends into absolute darkness. No walls, no ceiling. Just the platform and the tracks suspended in nothing. One figure waits. Me. The real me. Not a duplicate. I can tell because this version looks peaceful. Certain. That's the you that accepts, the entity says. The one who chooses to stay. If you step onto that platform, you merge with that version. The choice becomes real. And if I don't, the doors will open at 6 a.m. You can walk away. But the posting will appear tomorrow. Someone else, someone desperate, someone with no better options, will take the shift. And I'll be hungry again. I'll scratch out Rule 3 again. The cycle will worsen. I look at the me on the platform. It mouths words. It's not so bad. You get used to the fear. The train stops. 5:58 a.m. 2 minutes. The entity sits in the driver's seat next to me. We're both operators now. I need to tell you the complete truth. About the thing beneath. Go on. It's not evil. Not really. It's existence from a place where the rules are different. Where matter and energy mean opposite things. If it pushed through fully, it wouldn't destroy out of malice. It would destroy because its presence rewrites physics. The city would fold into impossible shapes. People would continue living, but not in any way recognizable as life. And the seal holds it back. The seal is temporary. Eventually, reality will thin enough that nothing can stop it. Maybe 1,000 years. Maybe 10,000. But inevitable. So this is futile. All guards are futile, ultimately. But they're necessary. 5:59 a.m. The passenger car empties. The children file off onto the platform that exists in nowhere. They wave goodbye. The girl with wet hair pauses at the door. "Thank you," she says, "for understanding." Then she's gone. Only the entity remains. And the version of me on the platform. 32nd, the entity says, "Choose." I look at the rules card. At the clear writing I added. At the other rules I now understand aren't restrictions but instructions for survival. I think about my mother. About the funeral I don't remember attending. About whether she's really dead or if that was another lie. "Tell me the truth about her," I say. "She's alive." The funeral memory was false, something I planted to make your desperation stronger. "I'm sorry." 6 a.m. The doors open. I can step onto the platform. Merge with the version of me that accepted. Become the eternal night driver. Or step out into the world. Return to normal life. Doom the next desperate soul. There's a third option, I say. The entity frowns. "Is there?" I hold up the rules card. "You said you need fear to maintain the seal. But you also said children's fear works because it's pure. Unmixed with disbelief." "Yes. What if I drive the shift, but not alone? What if I recruit others, people who understand, who choose willingly? Share the burden?" The entity goes very still. "That's never been attempted," it says slowly, "because you never told the truth. Rule 3, clear and honest. Maybe fear shared by volunteers is stronger than fear extracted from victims." 6:01 a.m. The doors begin to close. I grab them, holding them open. "I'll drive tonight's shift," I say. "But tomorrow, I'm rewriting all the rules. Truth only. And we're going to try something new." The entity considers. Then it smiles, genuinely smiles. "You might be the one who lasts," it says. I step onto the platform. The version of me on the platform doesn't disappear when I approach. Instead, it extends a hand. "You chose differently," it says. "Then you." I chose acceptance. "You chose change." When I take its hand, I don't merge with it. We stand side by side, two versions of the same person. One who submitted, one who's going to fight. Where do we go from here? I ask. The platform extends into darkness, but now I see lights. Distant, flickering. Other platforms. Other stations. Other thin places. The Riverside line isn't the only patrol, the entity says, stepping beside me. There are routes under every city. Some have barriers. Some don't. Some have drivers. Some have been abandoned. The reality of it crashes over me. How many? Hundreds. Maybe thousands. All over the world. Wherever humanity dug too deep or built too thoughtlessly. The other me speaks. I accepted because I thought the burden was mine alone. But if you're right about volunteers, we build a network, I say. Truth. Information. Choice. 6:15 a.m. The sun is rising somewhere above, but down here, it's always midnight. My radio crackles. The supervisor's voice, Unit 7, you Mr. 6 a.m. sign off. Everything okay? I lift the radio. Everything's complicated. I need to talk to you about the position. About recruiting. Silence. Then, recruiting. That's not protocol. The protocol is broken. I have a better way. More silence. Finally, come to the office when your shift ends. Bring the rules card. The entity laughs. The supervisor knows. They all know. The whole organization exists to maintain the seals. Then they'll understand change. I board the train. The other me doesn't follow. It fades, a possibility that no longer needs to exist. The entity sits in the passenger car. You'll need to prove this works. Tonight's shift will test you. What happens tonight? Same as every night. The seal weakens. The thing beneath pushes. You patrol and feed the barrier just enough fear to keep it strong. It pauses. But now you'll do it knowing why. That changes the fear. Makes it sharper. More useful. I take the driver's seat. The rules card sits on the console, my clear handwriting on Rule 3. I'm going to rewrite them all, I say. Every rule. Clear truth. That might weaken the barrier. Uncertainty creates fear. Truth creates resolve. Resolve might be stronger, or it might be fatal. I start the engine. The train pulls away from Deepwatch Station, beginning the route in reverse, heading back toward the start of the line. I'll recruit carefully, I say. People who understand sacrifice, who can face horror with open eyes. You're building something new, the entity says. A priesthood instead of victims. A watch instead of a prison. The train emerges into normal tunnels. Early morning commuters will board soon at the usual stations. They'll never know what travels beneath them, what's held at bay by volunteers in the deepest hours. My phone buzzes. A text from my mother. Dinner tonight? Haven't seen you in days. She's alive. The entity told the truth about that, at least. I text back, dinner sounds good. I have a lot to tell you. But I won't. Not really. Some truths are too heavy to share. The entity reads over my shoulder. You'll keep secrets from those you love. The isolation will be crushing. Unless I recruit people who understand that cost. You really think you can find them? People who are desperate, who need purpose, who want their fear to mean something. Yes, I think I can find them. We arrive at the start of the line. 6:45 a.m. The day shift driver waits to take over, a different route, a safer time. But as I leave the train, I see them checking their phone, looking at a message. Interested in earning triple hazard pay? Night shift available. Requirements: courage, discretion, and willingness to face the truth. My ad, posted while I drove. The day driver looks up at me. You're the one who ran the midnight shift? I am. They said nobody lasts. What's it really like? I show them the rules card. Rule 3, clear and true. Their eyes widen. That's real? The thing beneath is real. Yes, and I'm looking for people who can handle that truth, who can choose to stand guard instead of being forced. They look at the train, at the tunnels leading down, at the reality beneath the world. When do I start, they ask, and I smile. Because maybe, just maybe, shared purpose is stronger than isolated fear. Maybe a watch chosen is stronger than a prison. Maybe we can hold the line not through torture, but through truth. I hand them a blank rules card and a marker. Write your own Rule 3, I say. Truth only. Then we'll see if you're ready. The sun rises above. The city wakes, unaware. And in the deep places, where reality wears thin, a new kind of barrier begins to form. One built not on lies and fear, but on understanding and choice. The train waits. The shift continues. And for the first time in 32 years, the entity that guards the seal feels something it had forgotten. Hope. The midnight train runs every night. The routes multiply beneath every city. And now those who ride it do so with open eyes. The thing beneath still waits, still pushes. But the watch is no longer alone. And that makes all the difference.